The Minnesota Twins trade batting champion 2022 All-Star Luis Arraez to the Miami Marlins in a package that includes Pablo Lopez. Matt Braun is joining us. Can't wait. We're going to break this thing down from all angles on today's episode of Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to a breaking news Locked On Twins podcast. I'm your gracious host, Nash Walker. Today is Friday, January 20th, midday Friday. Friday news dump, maybe just breaking in the middle of the day for no reason. But Matt Braun is with us. So glad he's able to join us. Matt, I texted Matt last night because I got a comment, as I always do, wondering where Matt is. Can we hear from Matt? Where's Matt? Where's Matt? And he said, hey, let's wait for something. And look what happened 12 hours later. Matt, look at you.
Something about me on this show and me and this show just like spurns trades. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to question it, but it definitely is weird.
Here's the deal. Jeff Passan, full trade per ESPN sources. The Marlins receive second baseman Luis Arraez. The Twins receive right-handed pitcher Pablo Lopez, shortstop José Salas, and an outfielder Byron Chourio. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think Matt knows better than me. But that's your package. Pretty crazy. I mean, this is something we saw coming for a while, Matt, or at least had an inkling that this could happen in a Luis Arraez, Pablo Lopez. They've been talking for a long time. What's your initial reaction when you see this full package to this deal?
Well, my reaction is, I think even if it were just, say, Arraez for Lopez, I'd be a little upset, but I don't think I would. I could live with it, right? I could sleep at night knowing you've got an extra starting pitcher. You know, those are incredibly valuable. We all know that. But that they got back a legitimate prospect in Salas and another wild card in Chourio. I mean, they did so well that I'm almost confused now. I'm almost like, what, is there a catch? Like, are we missing something? They did like too well, actually.
Yeah, let's just give the basics here. Pablo Lopez, right-handed starter for the Marlins, solid last year. The year before that, he was very good. Just less innings. He's had shoulder trouble in his career, but he threw 180 innings in 2022, just at a lesser like efficiency, I would say. He has 2 years of team control at an arbitration salary this year. I think is $5.5 million. So right about what Luis Arraez was to make this year in arbitration. Louis has 3 years of team control. José Salas, at Baseball Prospectus, the number 93 prospect. He's a shortstop, and evaluators are optimistic that he can remain at shortstop. But the addition of Salas to the Twins system gives them 5 players in Baseball Prospectus top 100 in Royce Lewis, Brooks Lee, Emmanuel Rodriguez, Marco Araya, and now Salas. So, Matt, from the prospect, we're prospect guys, you know, watching, and you've done minor league reports your entire life at Twins Daily. What's your reaction to adding another top 100 prospect to this system per Baseball Prospectus?
Well, I just see it as another potential hit. You know, I've become actually quite I don't know. There's a word out there before, but now that as a prospect evaluator, you know, a lot of times there's so much hype surrounding these guys that you always feel like you have to be like, okay, let's slow it down now. You know,
Right.
these guys bust at incredible rates. Hey, the Mariners just DFA'd Justice Sheffield the other day. I remember that guy was supposed to be the next big thing. He was in the James Paxton deal, and he flamed out. It happens. So in that regard, you know, it's like you can never bank on these guys becoming all-stars or even quality players consistently. But when you have a lot of them, you have a good chance of at least 1 or 2 of them, 3 or 4 of them becoming, you know, the next big thing. So is Salas going to be one of them? I don't know, but he just gives them that much more depth in a system that I wouldn't say is lacking in depth, but had more questions than I think you would like. So yeah, I think it extends it by just that much more. And I'm all for it. I love it.
From the Luis Arraez angle, plenty of fans, I'm getting texts from friends who are like, why? What's going on? Why would they trade Luis Arraez? He won the batting title. He was an all-star. He's beloved. And that includes us, right? We love Luis Arraez. I love Luis Arraez, and I'm emotional about a trade like this, certainly, like every other Twins fan. And then you look at it from a baseball perspective, and the Twins, they need controllable starting pitching. They're losing likely 3 starters to free agency after this year. So I understand the logic in it. Then you add a top 100 prospect, another young prospect in Chourio, who crushed at the Dominican Summer League. These are two young prospects, but promising prospects, plus Pablo, who I think is a solid number 2-3 starter. I mean, where would you put Pablo in this rotation right now, Matt? Now they have 6 starters.
Well, I don't know if Pablo passes the Sonny Gray test, I guess, as we may call it. If you're looking for a starter that's unquestionably better than the number one guy you already have, but he's close. I think he's real close. I think he's in this, you could consider like the Tyler Motley sphere of just super talented guys who you can see the tools and you can see what makes them potentially a great starting pitcher. They just haven't really quite put it all together. I think he's in that tier. So I would avoid being like, oh, he's a number 2, he's a number 3. I would just say he's a talented guy. If he never puts it all together, like I think we can with his fastball changeup, with maybe even a third pitch, I don't know. You're still looking at, a 2.5 win player. That's really valuable as a pitcher. But if he does, you're looking at an all-star. And the Twins haven't had a whole lot of all-star starting pitchers lately. So I think just lengthening the rotation as well, perhaps moving over to more of a long relief sort of swingman role. Maybe you want to combine him with Kenta Maeda, eat some innings that way. I don't know. You can get creative. I'm just happy we're not seeing Matt Shoemaker or Jay Happer. They understood the mistake. They understood that when you go after those kind of guys and they bust, that it really hurts the team. So they're like, all right, screw it. We're going after the top guys. We're just going after the top talent, and we're going to make really sure that they're going to hit and that this is going to be a quality starting rotation.
I understand people who might be wondering why Arraez didn't bring back more, or why the Twins wouldn't package more with Arraez to get like a better starter. But something I've tried to push, Matt, is who's out there. Like, Pablo Lopez is the guy to me. I don't see anybody else better than Pablo Lopez moved. I mean, I could be dead wrong. I could end up looking dumb. You could see a couple of starters move, but to me, like, he's the best starter who's going to move this offseason, in my opinion.
No, I think you're right. I think I would agree with that. Obviously, there's like Zach Gallen, but you're going to have to trade the entire world and then some to get Zach Gallen. So that's not happening. They're not trading Sandy Alcantara. You can stop with those
That would be
articles
amazing.
It would be incredible. He's so good and he's so cheap that it literally wouldn't make sense to trade him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think from the intersection of like a quality starting pitcher, an available starting pitcher, it's Pablo Lopez, and it's really going to be that. As far as like giving up Arraez, I actually just wrote about that the other day. Oddly enough, got like 125 comments. Good Lord. I read like 5 of them and I'm like, I'm out of here. I know this is going to be, I actually get the more comments I get, the more worried I am. I'm like, oh, this is a shit show. But to give up Arraez, I think he's a quality baseball player. Let's say that. I think maybe he's not a second baseman, but at the very worst, I think he's going to be like a 120, 130 WRC plus hitter. And he's going to provide that offense, I think, consistently, even though it's in maybe an unusual package. But the issue is he's not a second baseman. He's a first baseman. And so to have a first baseman hit around that area, it's not quite as valuable. It's not, I think he tops out even at his very peak at like a 4 to 4.5 win. And that's your peak. So you look at that and you say, well, I think we could use a starting pitcher. I think we could reasonably make up for Arraez with some sort of combination of maybe Miranda sees more first. Maybe it's Kirilloff. Kind of would have liked to see them maybe kick the tires on Trey Mancini, but that ship sailed. I think they're well suited actually to make up for the loss, though.
Is there more coming for the Twins? More on Luis Arraez, Pablo Lopez, the impact on the roster. So much coming with Matt after this word from Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. If you're looking for a delicious treat, but you don't want all those calories, I get it. You got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little healthier this year. If you're like me, or you want to eat healthier, but you don't want to compromise taste, then man, I've got just the thing for you. You got to try Built. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right. Real chocolate. They come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And now you don't need to wait around for a box when you order online. You can head to Sam's Club or Walmart. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. If you're close to a Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. That's a word from Built Bar. Bringing in Matt Braun to analyze more on this Luis Arraez trade. First, want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. Locked On MLB Prospects. I'm sure we'll have a deeper dive on Jose Salas and Chourio. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia. He's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Matt, impact on the roster. So you mentioned Arraez, first baseman. I've kind of pushed that on the show the last couple of weeks. Like, he's at the bottom of the defensive spectrum at this point. Now you take away him from first base. I expect that to be Alex Kirilloff playing first base against a right-handed starter on opening day.
Oh, yeah, I fully agree. I think that's Kirilloff's spot to lose. Like I mentioned before, I think Miranda will also play a little bit of first base. I think it's going to be one of those positions they cycle a lot of guys in and out in. Or I don't know. Crackhead Derek Falvey may trade for another guy tomorrow. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you. Last time I came here and like tried to tell you things, they went and traded Josh Donaldson like the second we were talking. So I've like stopped trying with that at all. But as of this moment, I will say that, and I don't think there's another trade. No.
Let's keep updating.
Who knows though?
Yeah.
It'll be Alex Kirilloff at first base. I believe that.
I think from the end of the lockout until today, the Twins have to be the most active team in baseball with trades, and they've signed Carlos Correa twice. They've traded top prospects. They've traded four starters, Paddock, Malley, Gray, Lopez. Pretty insane. It's pretty insane, the dealing that Derek Falvey is doing here. I think there's a perception here, Matt, on this regime after back-to-back losing seasons. I think people have been upset about trades they've made. You know, specifically, I think the Paddock and Pagan deal was upsetting, especially at first, because Rodgers was crushing it in San Diego. Do you think that this is going to further that kind of vitriol from fans who think that Derek Falvey and Thad Levine are not doing a good job? They're trading away fan favorites. They're, spending too much money on position players and not investing on the pitching side. What would be your response to that?
I mean, I could get it if you're looking at because and someone else even just pointed out in the chat that they've specifically traded guys who you could say are fan favorites, who are high energy type of players, and so to lose a guy that you like to come to the ballpark and just watch his energy. And Arraez is all. I mean, my God, he just embodies the word energy. He's just all over the place, even at the plate while hitting. You're just like, my God, I can't sit down watching the dude. He's got so much energy. But as far as the actual strategy and what they're going with, I like it a lot. And I've criticized them. I've leveled some criticisms. But if you look at the guys that you've mentioned, the starting pitchers with Paddock, Molly, Gray, Pablo now, they're targeting the mainly these not necessarily buy low guys, but guys that have that potential, guys that you can see maybe an adjustment or two are away from really becoming a quality starting pitcher. And it hasn't quite worked out, mainly because of injuries. But I can see the vision, and I can see that they're saying, hey, look, we're a mid-market team. It is what it is. It's going to be hard to attract, the Zach Wheelers of the world in free agency. So what we're going to do is we're going to trade for these guys, and we're going to trade for guys who, we're not going to trade for the Cy Young Award winners because they're always going to have, incredible price tags for it. But we're going to trade for the guys we think that can become close to that level because that's the game they have to play. And I think they acknowledge that and they realize that. And good Lord, have they been playing that game lately? As I said, it hasn't quite played out in their favor, but I don't think it's been certainly not due to a lack of trying, but I don't think it's because of their own failures as much as, hey, guys get injured. It's sports, that does tend to happen. So if it all works together, which I think it can, hey, we might be looking at a pretty good starting rotation.
Well, this has got to be absolutely. I think yesterday it was the deepest rotation in the Falvey Levine regime, for better or worse. And I think today it's even deeper. Here's a look. I just tweeted this out. A look at what the opening day lineup roster could look like. I think things are going to change here. But if you look at the rotation itself, Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez, Tyler Mahle, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, Kenta Maeda, there's 6 right there. And you have Louis Varland, Simeon Woods Richardson, Josh Winder, maybe Jordan Balazovic bounces back. So, Matt, I think they're setting themselves up here to withstand some injury, ineffectiveness, growing pains coming back from Tommy John with Maeda or Ober with the lower workload. I think they're setting up for that with this depth.
it's probably going to be one of the deeper starting rotations. I could see that, although those are always famous last words. So there you
I
go.
know. Deep is like not a thing for this team.
It's not a thing in baseball. It can be gone within the month. I mean, good
Right.
lord, we know it can happen, but also maybe it doesn't happen. That's baseball right there. I could have just ended it. I could just end the sentence there. I think they're well suited though at the moment. And as I said, it's depth. It's like real depth. Like I again, not to like plug all my things, but I wrote about this as well about the issue when you sign a guy like Dylan Bundy is it's like fake depth
Mhm.
because yeah, sure, he's an arm and he's capable, and yeah, maybe he goes out there and throws 8 innings against Arizona, which he did do.
He did.
He did do it. Credit to him.
Yep, I watched.
But I watched it. I couldn't believe it, but he did it. The thing about that though is it because he's on the roster and because he's capable, it's just that much harder to get rid of him and try and upgrade him. With no offense to Dylan Bundy, but like more what he represents.
Right.
So now that they're aiming higher and they're saying, "Hey, let's go a little bit younger, let's go a little bit higher potential," that's actual depth. And so now you're pushing the guys like Louis Varland and Simeon Woods Richardson down further the line. Guys who actually can become, I think, quality major league pitchers. I even forgot about Josh Winder for a second there.
Mhm.
Him too. Now that those guys are your depth and those are the guys you can call up and then send down at will, that's a much stronger rotation. That's actual, like, real, tangible pitching depth. Now we'll see how the injuries go because,
Mhm.
as I said, pitching depth might as well not even be a term. But it looks pretty good.
Salas a shortstop, and again, the sense is he could remain there. He could be a shortstop in the big leagues. Matt, I'm thinking, knowing this front office, and we talked about how active they've been in the last 18 months or so. I would say 18 months they've been extremely active. Knowing this front office, I don't think they're close to done here. I don't think that this is the team that's going to be out there on opening day, especially in the outfield. I don't think that's going to be the outfield alignment. Uh, what do you think could be next for them if they were to make another move? What do you think is most likely here?
Oh my god, do you want me to predict Falvey? Oh, good lord.
He's turning into like the American League version of AJ Preller in some
Uh,
ways.
I mean, yeah, with less. Let's be clear. Derek Falvey does crack. AJ Preller does cocaine. I think that's how that breaks down. Uh, but I mean, at the same time, I could honestly see that as how they play it because we've been talking about trading Kepler. God knows I've been talking about trading Kepler for darn near close to 4 years now at this point. Even in 2019, I heard a
Yeah.
lot of talk about it. And so at this point, I'm like, hey, maybe they just keep him around. There are worse things to have than arguably the best defensive right fielder in the game, who had, dare I say it, ideal batted ball data. Although once you bring up Max Kepler and batted ball data, you might as well just be speaking gibberish. Sabermetricians in like 100 years are going to look at this player and just be baffled,
Yeah.
or maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know. We don't know. I hate it. It's so annoying. But anyways, that's a quality team right there. Again, Byron needs to stay healthy. That's the point. But at the moment, I mean, we've talked about them with Correa. I think pushing them up to an 85 win team. Let's say Pablo Lopez, more of a lateral move with the
Mhm.
value of
Mhm.
Arraez, maybe an extra win if you're being generous. But I think one that's more consistent, I would say, one that you can bank on those wins coming. And, that's not going to be the team heading into, probably not heading into March, definitely not heading into August. I mean, I think
Mhm.
they're well set up then to make that big move at the trade deadline if that's what they want to do as well.
Key in this, Pablo, with an extra year of team control in 2024. So now instead of just Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober slated and Chris Paddock hopefully is back and ready to go, but you have Pablo Lopez as well at the top of the rotation as a solid 2-3 in my mind, and could be more. Like you said, Matt, he could be an all-star level pitcher. I think he's 26. So there's more there. 93, 95 with the fastball, really good changeup, and the Twins have targeted guys with reverse splits. I think like all their starters, almost all of them have reverse splits, and you hope that he can develop that third pitch and get righties out. I don't think he had reverse splits. Actually, I'm not sure Pablo does for his career, but his best pitch is a changeup. So you wonder about a third pitch for Lopez. Another factor here, Matt, is in the rotation. Could you see, Sonny Gray, Tyler Mahle, Kenta Maeda packaged with somebody else in a trade before opening day?
Oh my goodness, that would be crazy. I mean, as I said, I wouldn't put anything past Falvey, but that
Yeah.
might be too much even for him. I think you've already accrued this much depth. Let's rest on your laurels a little bit.
Mhm.
Let's not be going too far out there. And as I said before, I don't even know who they would be trading them for,
Mhm.
unless the Rays suddenly are like tired of Shane McClanahan or something. But
Oh,
I
that would
highly doubt that
would
would
that be
happen.
something? Yeah.
Oh, it would be awesome, but I highly doubt it.
Mhm. So, another thing I was thinking of, my whole push with trading Luis Arraez was his value to this lineup is such that isn't equivalent to, I think, how he's viewed outside of this lineup, if that makes sense. I think he's invaluable to this group, in my opinion, which means if you're going to trade him, which I was fine, that's fine. If you're going to trade Luis Arraez, I understand it. If you're going to trade him, you need to get something significant in return. I wouldn't say that about everybody. I wouldn't say it about Max Kepler. I think I'd be okay with a lot of deals for Max Kepler at this point, personally. But for Luis Arraez, what I think he means to the clubhouse, to the lineup, it needed to be like a significant addition. And would you describe this as that when you factor in Salas and kind of a lotto ticket in the Dominican Summer League, but somebody who looks like they could be really good in Chourio? How would you describe this return overall in comparison to like a significant return?
I mean, I would say it's significant. I think if you're acquiring a starting pitcher with 2 years of eligibility, that takes a lot. Let's think about what the Twins gave up, or what the Twins got in return, excuse me, for Jose Barrios, and that was just a
Mhm.
year and a half. And at the time, you're looking at Austin Martin, who was unquestionably a top 50 prospect, probably isn't now, but still is quality. And Simeon Woods Richardson, who was teetering, used to be, but kind of fell off a little bit. And that was for less than what um, that was for he had less years of control remaining than Pablo Lopez. Now, of course, Luis Arraez is also a major league quality player. Uh, that makes things a bit different. But I think that the Twins did very well. And with the clubhouse aspect, I'm always like leery of those discussions because on the just because we're not there on a daily basis, we don't know
Right.
the inner workings. I would say as an outsider that the Twins are probably well equipped to handle it, especially now that you have assistant GM, future president Carlos Correa back. Uh, I mean, he's probably going to carry every hat imaginable. It wouldn't surprise me. Now that you have him and Byron leading it, now that you have Royce Lewis, who by all accounts is a phenomenal leader as well. I think they're well equipped to handle that. And I mean, the guys know it's a business. I think the
Right.
guys, even though they may like Arise personally, are probably going to understand that you make these deals because of the on-field, because of the strategy choices available. So while personally, yeah, they might be like, I would have liked to see Luis Arraez around. I think winning does tend to negate these things.
I'm looking at Sonny Gray, Tyler Mahle, Pablo Lopez compared since 2019. So this is since 2019. Lopez is the youngest. He's a year younger than Mahle. 391 ERA for Pablo. That's a 108 ERA plus. Sonny Gray at 133. Mahle and Lopez are like identical in ERA plus, both at 108. ERA a little bit different because Pablo pitches in Miami at that park. But in FIP, Tyler Mahle 406, Pablo Lopez 368. To me, very similar acquisition, Matt. And you can push back on this if you disagree or you think Pablo is different. But it was like get Mahle out of GABP in Cincinnati and let's see what he can do. For Pablo, it's maybe make a couple tweaks, but he is who he is. Maybe there's more. He's only 26, but it's maybe more getting righties out consistently in a Twins uniform, with a solid third pitch. How would you compare those two?
I mean, maybe. I actually looked it up while you mentioned it, and at least in 2022, Lopez allowed a lower WOBA to righties than lefties.
Mm,
There's a lot more to consider than just that, but on the surface, that's what it was. I could see that as a comparison. Like you said, I mean, Molly, good lord, what a stadium that is. Yeah, just get
mhm.
him out of Great American. For Lopez, I think it's going to be in the write up I'm actually doing about it right now. I compare him a lot to Chris Paddock and
Mm.
Kevin Gausman. Because for whatever reason, and I still don't understand this, why teams do this, uh, for like 20% of Lopez's pitches are sinkers and cutters that are just not getting anyone out.
Right.
Uh, and hitters are just crushing them. And for whatever reason, he keeps throwing them. God knows why. So I can imagine the Twins just being like, hey, I know you may like these pitches, but let's not. So they could go multiple ways with Lopez. They could just nix those pitches entirely, wouldn't surprise me, or at least like greatly reduce them. Or even his curveball had some real tremendous xwOBA numbers, like xwOBA in like the 180 or something ungodly like that, even though he was using it like 9% of the time. But also he's throwing his fastball right down the middle of the plate, which is not going to help anything. So I think they have a lot of things they can do to maybe work with him. And we started to see these things with Paddock, who I think is at least kind of comparable. And, a fastball changeup guy, kind of lacks the third pitch. And his fastball doesn't have tremendous velocity and not quite ideal pitch shape, but still through command, through the fact that Paddock was throwing it like at the direct top of the zone, one of the highest heat maps I've ever seen. He was getting outs. So I think they'll do something similar with Lopez, or maybe they do something dissimilar. I don't know. These people are way smarter than I am. But on a surface level, that's what I see. And I think these are all relatively attainable things that they can do. So attainable that you almost wonder why he didn't do them in the first place. But I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes along with that. So I am optimistic on Lopez. I think he can become 3.5, 4, maybe even higher win starting pitcher. And I don't think it would take too much.
Lopez made 32 starts last year. 180 innings would have led the Twins by a pretty good margin. So that's another factor as well. Hoping for a bunch of innings out of him in 2023. Matt, thank you so much. This is a long time coming. This deal getting official is somewhat of a surprise, but not really. I mean, we've heard about it for a while. You did a great job. Everybody comment your thoughts. Let us know what you think. I have a feeling many will not be happy with this, and I understand that. Matt, thank you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, of course. I'll come back in a week when they make another crazy deal.
It might be tonight, folks.
Good Lord, it may be. All right,
Thanks,
see you,
Matt.
man.